conference. I feel very honoured to address you as NASUWT President. I have lived and breathed NASUWT for nearly 40 years, and I am fully aware of the honour of being elected as President of this great union. Some 20 years ago, I was President of NASUWT Cymru, but with apologies to Welsh colleagues, this tops that. Like all NASUWT presidents, I stand on the shoulder of giants. And I want to start by paying tribute to my two immediate predecessors. Michelle Coddington-Rogers and Phil Kemp steered this great ship through the turbulent storm of the pandemic. I know that we're not quite free of that storm, and there's much work to do in the aftermath. But the leadership that Michelle and Phil have shown during this crisis has been exemplary. The adaptability and flexibility that they have displayed has been incredible, and I pay tribute to them both. This tribute, though, is incomplete. I must include the General Secretary and the staff of the NASUWT. I was staggered at how quickly and how seamlessly the union moved from being office-based to home working. Patrick and his team have worked tirelessly throughout the pandemic. The service to members remained consistently first class, and the website was transformed into the go-to site for up-to-date advice to teachers in the UK. And this was done during a time when our NASUWT family faced loss and tragedy. I pause for a moment to pay tribute to Gareth Young, our Deputy General Secretary, and to Victor Aguera, a valued national official, both taken from us too young. I attended my first NASUWT conference as a delegate from Powys Association in 1987. I remember thinking that I was part of this huge and great organisation with fellow delegates from across the UK who thought like me, shared my concerns, my aspirations, and my hopes. I was hooked, and I have been to conference ever since. But in a significant sense, the NASUWT was a different union then. Most of the national executive were men. The national officers were all men, and most of the delegates were men. The NASUWT has over the years challenged this, and women have risen within the union, encouraged by the example of the great women teacher trade unionists who were pioneers in making the Union of Women Teachers a genuine and equal partner in the NASUWT. I'm thinking of Sue Rogers, the first woman president of my experience, who went on to be the first woman NASUWT honorary treasurer. A truly gifted and inspirational speaker whose speech on the national curriculum, trundling a porter's trolley up to the rostrum, holding all of the national curriculum folders, is a precious memory. Of Olwyn Gunn, of Pat LaRue, of Amanda Hayner, of Paula Rowe, of Cathy Wallace, and of course Michelle. We elected a woman General Secretary. Chris Keats is respected not only by myself and women within the NASUWT, but also throughout the trade union movement. Women make up over 70% of the teaching profession. Women are the majority of NASUWT school representatives, but as you go up in seniority in the NASUWT, there are fewer and fewer women. So, step up, sisters. You are the heart and soul of the UK Education Service. So come forward and lead the greatest teachers' union in the UK and help make our second century of existence truly diverse. A few years after my first conference, I arrived with a second Powys delegate, Neil. Scroll on a few years, and we were coming to conference with our children. Easter to our girls was nip about. They are true NASUWT children coming with us to demonstrations. The eldest, Fionn, recently voted in her first strike ballot, though not sadly for NASUWT because she's not a teacher. The youngest, Alice, is president of her college union at Durham University, so is following in our footsteps. She serves as president of her union at the same time as I am president of my union. So my whole working life has been one in which I have travelled hand in hand with NASUWT. Our married life also. Neil and I were both elected as presidents of NASUWT Cymru, and Neil and I have both been honoured to serve as national officers, though not at the same time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're the only married couple ever to achieve this, so far. As I approach nearly 40 years of activism, I started as an NASUWT student rep in 1985. Patrick is my fourth General Secretary, and I hope my last, because 1985 was the start of my career, 2022 is the twilight of my career. And I look back at those years with NASUWT with gratitude, love, and enormous pride. Pride as a teacher. Pride as a teacher in Wales. And pride as an NASUWT teacher. My first conference was in Thatcher's Britain. It was the height of that poisonous political philosophy that could not understand the public sector ethos and could only see schools as separate islands in competition with each other. Out of the 1988 Education Act came a prescriptive curriculum because schools and teachers were not to be trusted. And local management of schools handed over control of schools to amateur governing bodies because local authority professionals could not be trusted. In England, the 88 Act has evolved into its logical conclusion of academisation, with its accompanying bloated salaries for executive heads, and an ethos of competition that seems alien to me as a teacher. We have been better served in Wales. Since education has been devolved to the Welsh Government, we have seen a greater emphasis on collaboration and cooperation. And there have been small improvements made to teachers' pay and conditions of service. But we still cling on to LMS in Wales. That last vestige of Thatcherism still poisons the Welsh Education Service. Whilst we in Wales can sometimes be rather smug when we view our friends in England, the grass is sometimes not greener to the west of Offansdyke. The First Minister for Wales at the Welsh Labour Party conference clearly stated that the Welsh Government will reform the school day and year. In one sentence, he showed a prejudice and contempt for the teaching profession that is hard to see matched elsewhere in the UK. Given that his government has had no dialogue with teaching unions on this issue. But, by comparison to some teachers across the world, the conditions that we protect are immeasurably better. That is why I am proud of the international work of the NASUWT. The NASUWT stands in solidarity with teachers across the world who work in much more hostile environments. We have an obligation as one of the strongest teachers' unions in the world to help and support teachers who see an enormous gap between what we enjoy in equalities and conditions and what they must endure. We must continue our international work as part of Education International. I sincerely hope that our ability to be with each other today is a sign that we're near the end of the pandemic that has so devastated lives across the globe. And of course, it has devastated the education service. But teachers, along with other key workers, rose magnificently to the challenge. Even as the virus was spreading exponentially and was mutating into more virulent forms, teachers were back in classrooms. And whilst many other workers remained working from home, teachers have been in overcrowded and dangerous environments now for many months, protected by what really are fig leaf mitigations. We know that black teachers were particularly vulnerable, and our black members have told us that employers failed to address the increased risk to them. Teachers are the forgotten heroes of the pandemic, but of course, it is not over. So what now of the future as we pick up the pieces? Children have been denied the order, discipline, and care of regular school attendance. Their increased mental health issues often impacts on our members in behavioural challenge. Teachers have never been so important in the lives of young people, but we ourselves have felt the strains and the challenges of the pandemic. So, a perfect storm is developing and building. We look to those in power to support us in this crucial work, but instead teachers are undervalued and under attack. In England, there is barely concealed contempt for the profession, illustrated by a pay freeze at a time when teachers should be being showered with gifts, praise, and encouragement to hold the system together. In my own nation of Wales, where the government is at least well-intentioned, they are like rabbits in the headlights. They can see by the recruitment crisis that a storm is brewing, but they have little to offer other than the misguided move to reform the school year and the school day. And they refuse to postpone a new curriculum that they know by their own research schools are ill-prepared for. Possibly not rabbits then, more like lemmings running headlong for that cliff that is September. In Northern Ireland, we are balloting all members on a trade dispute with the Education Minister over pay, workload, and adverse management practices. In Scotland, no, not a pay freeze, just a 0.2% pay uplift. Members in Scotland are justifiably outraged. In the Isle of Man, we are balloting all members over pay because they've seen a real terms cut of 30% since 2010. I am a proud Welsh member of the NASUWT, but I am part of a strong UK-wide union that deals directly with the issues of concern to members wherever they work. The solution to all of this is, of course, really so simple. It's the NASUWT mantra that we have known for years. Put teachers first. Make teachers your priority. We find that politicians and even many school leaders just don't get it. Surely it's the children. We must put the children first. But it is we teachers who put the children first. It is why we entered the profession. We want to work with children and young people. Our joy is watching them grow and learn and develop. And children need their teachers to be happy in their work. An exhausted, unhappy, disillusioned teacher is not an effective teacher. So those that have power over education must understand that they must respect, support, and nurture their teachers. It is that simple, yet they just don't get it. And the price they pay for years of neglect in schools is schools in crisis, battered and bruised by a pandemic, and neglected and misunderstood by governments. The message that needs to go out to those in power is therefore very simple. Give us some respect. If you respect us, then so will the wider community, and we will start to rebuild the profession into one that good quality graduates are queuing up to get into. So, how do you show us respect? Pay us properly. Teachers don't expect to be millionaires, but we do expect a decent wage that reflects our skills and values the intensity of the work we do. The continuing pay freeze in England shows such appalling contempt. Look after us. Give us a career in which we can develop and grow, where the workload is manageable, so that we're not ground down by years of excessive class sizes and aggressive accountability measures. Protect us. Protect us from those in society that blame us for their own failures. Protect us from quick fixes by politicians who want to make a name for themselves. Protect us from malicious allegations that can destroy careers and even lives. Protect us from social media abuse that cannot be tolerated in a civilized society. Teachers are so precious. Together with parents and carers, it is teachers that form and create the next generation. Society so desperately needs good teachers, and yet successive governments in all UK nations have treated us so badly. Never has the NASUWT been so important, and I will reserve my concluding comments for the union that I love. The NASUWT is the teachers' union. We only take teachers into membership. Teachers are our specialism. Teachers are our world. We are led by teachers. I'm a serving teacher. The NASUWT protects teachers and is the greatest supporter and champion of teachers across the UK and even beyond. Devolution has seen the education systems of the nations drift further and further away from each other, and that will continue. But the NASUWT has risen to the challenge of devolution and is strong and relevant in each of the nations. It is the determination of the NASUWT to remain the only teachers' union that serves the whole of the UK. It is this and the fact that the NASUWT absolutely serves the interests of teachers only that makes us the most formidable, strongest, and greatest education union in the whole of the UK. And long may it be so. I may be in the twilight of my years of teaching and therefore union activism, but the union goes on. It must. Not just for teachers, but for everyone. The NASUWT serves and protects teachers when no one else will. And by doing so, it serves and protects the education service that leads out the next generation and generations to come. I am honoured to be president of such a union.
Conference, I'm sure that you will agree that address was not the address of a twilight president. That was the address of a president who is burning and burning bright as you are burning bright on behalf of teachers and standing up for every one of our members. And Angela, conference, I move that the best thanks of this conference be and are hereby tendered to Angela Butler for her excellent address.
Well, this is my first thing to do as president, and that is to give a vote of thanks to Phil Kemp and present him with his gold medal.